Welcome back from that short break. You're still watching New Vision TV News with me, Ruth Naseje. We now take a look at what's making news in business.
In business tonight, the UN has pledged its full support for the development of the African Continental Free Trade Area, claiming it would develop strategies to maximize opportunities created as member states begin to implement it, also hailing it as a bridge towards peace on the continent. We speak to Paul Busharizi on how the African Continental Free Trade Area is a bridge to peace. So the UN has hailed and, of course, appreciated, and they're very excited about the Africa Free Trade Area that was signed recently. But then they're calling it a bridge to peace. Paul, we are looking at the economic growth of the African countries, and it seems the UN is looking at something else, politics or something. What do they mean, bridge of peace?
Well, it's been known for a long time that if there's poverty, there's likely to be war and civil strife.
Yes.
Part of the reason is that the poor people, the people who are in this poverty, have nothing to lose. Therefore, they are likely to get into fracas.
In short, Africans.
Yes, everywhere else in the world. If you look everywhere else in the world, the places where there's a lot of war, civil strife, many times in poor areas.
Yeah.
So trade creates economic activity, and therefore we have a stake. More people have a stake in an economy, and therefore less likely to get involved in fighting and stuff like that. Therefore,
that
peace.
Is what they mean.
Yes.
So it's a bridge to peace.
Yes.
How do they mean? How are they looking at it? Because
well, look at it this way. In Africa, an African continent, we are about 51 countries.
Thereabouts.
We are the most divided continent in the world. There's no other continent which has 51 countries. Mm-hmm. One of the effects of that is that trade is very difficult within the continent. Yeah. Of all the total trade that the continent does, only 16% do we do it among ourselves, compared to Europe, which does 60% of trade within itself. So imagine if I'm trading with you, it's in my interest that you remain okay so that you can keep paying me. And it's in your interest that I remain okay, that I can keep supplying you. Yes, but if there's a boundary and we're not doing, I don't care. If you get blown up, if you do what, that's your problem. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right, thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Lynn and Paul, for that insight. We now take a look at our daily pile of Africa series. Today we look at the king of the jungle, the lion. Now, unlike other cats, lions are the most fierce and surprisingly social animals because they live in groups. But how do the zookeepers at the Uganda Wildlife Education Center tame these animals? We have the details in this report. It is never advisable to get closer to a lion because it is said to be the most dangerous animal. However, if you want to get closer to it, Uganda Wildlife Education Center offers this opportunity. The lions spend 16 to 20 hours of the day sleeping or resting. They lie on their backs with their feet up and taking a dozing up in the tree. While lazing around, they are very affectionate towards one another, rubbing heads, grooming and purring. This explains why lionesses give birth to 2 or 3 cubs at a time. But one wonders, how are they treated when they fall sick? And how do the zookeepers know that any of the lions is sick?
There are different ways how you can tell that he's sick. One, the response towards food. So usually, just as I told you, we normally feed them on 5 kilos of beef every day, with the exception of Mondays and Fridays. So you get to know if the food, if they have not responded towards the food. 2, the daily movements. So you as a keeper or as a caretaker, you'll keep observing them. And if you get to know that the lion has spent almost the entire day in one place, then you get to know there's something that has gone amiss with it.
Unlike lions that die due to illnesses, this fierce animal also has predators who threaten its survival in Uganda.
We have an average of 420 lions in the entire nation. And Uganda has around 10 national parks. So that number is a very small number. And most of the national parks that we have, their neighbors, they're herdsmen. So sometimes when they go in for hunting and they don't see the wild animals, what they normally opt for is to go in the neighborhood, go and hunt for cattle, goat, and the sheep. And as a matter of fact, so what the herdsmen do is to poison them. So on average, we normally lose around 7 lions.
Besides the Uganda Wildlife Education Center, the lions can be found at Kidepo Valley National Park, the Murchison Falls National Park, Queen Elizabeth National Park. For more Pearl of Africa stories, visit our website, which is newvision.co.ug/Pearl of Africa. Our newspaper, The Sunday Vision, is also the home of adventures. So grab your copy every Sunday for Pearl of Africa stories. We move on to our special report today. Today we explore how suspects are paid to acquire justice in Nawelu Court and Mukono Chief Magistrates Court. This is the final episode of the investigation New Vision TV has been broadcasting since Monday, highlighting how magistrates, court clerks, police officers, and prison warders are extorting money from suspects so that they can acquire justice. We move on to Mukono Chief Magistrates Court. It wasn't hard for us to locate a disgruntled family. The son of the family is in jail for confiscating his boss's laptop after the boss allegedly failed to pay for his services. Though suspicious of our offer of help, they agreed to work with us. At this point, we already knew how the system works, so we asked them to get LC letters and national identity cards. We walked straight to the clerk's office. Though spacious, the files cluttered on the desk and the number of people squeezed on the small bench make it small. We have met this man, Jacob, not real names. He says he has been here, severely charged with various offenses, and each time he got out, he paid a bribe. He uses his expert to guide us. Even with several people seated in the clerk's office, she does not shy away from cracking a bail deal with us. Courts are still in session and the files are still here unlocated. Maybe you come back later, she says. During the lunch break, she summons us again and starts us off with 500,000 shillings. The magistrate, Marian Naluja, said you should not dare mention 200,000 shillings, she warns. But she promises to refund in case the suspect fails to get bail. After a protracted bargaining session, she finally settles for 300,000 shillings and asks us to wait outside until she signals us, but quickly reminds us to put the money in an envelope. When she returns, she informs us that the magistrate has agreed, and since she wasn't holding any bail sessions that afternoon due to the absence of state prosecutor, the suspect will be remanded for the weekend. This is a reduction from the 2-week remand period that was to be handed to the troubled man. But leave the money here with me, she whispers to our reporter, who pulls out 50,000 shilling note and pays it to her. She pulls it to her left thigh, obstructed by files that lie hanging on the table, and then bags it. We bounced twice until she asked us to pay another bribe to the state attorney, but we did not have it. She promises to do something, and the suspect was released after more than a week on non-cash bail of 1 million shillings. However, during an interview with the New Vision, Naluja denied knowledge of the bribe. I'm so tired of such allegations. We work under a lot of pressure here, and then someone comes up with such allegations, and I don't know who it is. Some people come to court posing as court officials to con litigants, and then litigants pay this money and realize they have been conned. They blame it on magistrates. Mariam says such complaints have so many times been questioned by the office of the IGJ. On the idea of middlemen, she says there are no middlemen in the court, except for courtmen who frequent the court in search for naive litigants. We could not independently verify if she did ask the bribe through the clerk, but if she did not, then the clerk was the con lady. These are our findings from the investigation. Now, this investigation has revealed to us that corruption at court is a syndicate. The racket includes police officers, prison warders, clerks, hawkers, orderlies, gatekeepers, and even magistrates. State attorneys extort money from suspects' relatives claiming to be doing so on behalf of magistrates. Sometimes it's the clerks who claim to be receiving bribes on behalf of the magistrates and the state attorneys. Suspects' relatives who pay bribes are aware it is wrong. They are so discreet that it's difficult for them to report those they give bribes to trigger an investigation. There is so much information gap that creates a fertile ground for conmen to manipulate desperate people at court. Court officials who take bribes are so smart and careful that they will set conditions hard to nab them. Court decisions are deliberately delayed to compel suspects to pay bribes. Sylvia Nambiru, the Executive Director, Legal Aid Service Providers Network, says they have started a nationwide campaign dubbed Break the Silence Campaign to sensitize the public about the negatives of corruption. The Uganda Law Society President Simon Peter Knobe has called for whistleblower sensitization on how and where to report bribery and also make them aware that they are protected by the law. This investigation was sponsored by the Democratic Governance Facility. That is it we had for you today. Thank you for sticking with us. Remember, you can get more news updates and other programs here on New Vision TV by visiting our website, which is newvision.co.ug/video. You can also follow us on social media. Facebook is the New Vision, Twitter is at New Vision Wire, Instagram is at New Vision Wire, and our YouTube channel is New Vision TV. Catch up with me on my Twitter handle. I am Ruth the Voice. Before I say goodnight, first take a look at this fact file.